Hello, everyone. Um, I would like to say a happy Christmas to whomever is in Ireland, and that to just give a update of what I'm hoping on doing in the new year, you know, and as well what I'm hoping on doing in the new year is mainly going to be just making a YouTube show series that's to promote the book that I've been creating for the past couple of years, in which anything that I'll be actually explaining or talking about throughout the series, it'd be for a more growing audience. So it would be. So, like at the same time, if there would be children watching the series or the show, and that'd be made specifically for a more growing audience, to make sure that they actually have a parental guidance with them. That they actually have someone that's actually a adult with them. Is all. And that as well, there's also the whole thing that and that's one of the things that's actually on my goal list of things I'm actually hoping to do in the coming year. Um, and as well, a lot of what I'll be sharing, y- all of you can feel free to leave your comments, um, regardless of if they're if you have anything rude, nasty, or unpleasant, um, that you would be sharing in the throughout the series, to either keep it to yourself or to um talk to someone about it, but to not to actually share it within the throughout the series, throughout the live streams of it. So really, with that in consideration, um, there's the whole thing that when it comes to online hate, um, that's the sort of a thing that I'm actually trying to avoid. So really, it'd be actually better if ye would keep it specifically just about what I'm actually explaining or talking about. And if I say that you can leave comments, questions, queries, or whatever, you can um you can for sure, but at the same time to keep it positive as well and not negative. And for one thing as well, you shouldn't really have any negative people in your life. Only people that are positive, really. And the things I be, and the whole series is mainly about what I'll be explaining and talking about for sure. But the main arcs of the main things of it really is the whole thing of life experiences that one that anyone may have had been throughout the years, but it's just me explaining of what they shouldn't have been made to do, really. Because I'm not blaming anyone or making anyone as a example, but well, putting anyone as a example, but like a lot of taking people for granted, um and um to being unforgetful, well, being so um you know so caught up in the more in the world of technology, and in the world that brings a lot of the hate to it. um that's not actually good either, so it's not, in mind. But at the same time, um um the series will mainly be aiming more so towards along the lines of one of a person that has actually gone through life experiences along with being famous to um to really and actually losing himself along the way as well. So really, a lot of what I am really saying is that an awful lot of self discovery and development to um s- um to actually caring is actually a good thing, in which that you, if you wouldn't care about yourself, that's really how others would actually treat you like as well, which actually is so true. And for one thing, even though many people, and even I'm guilty of as well, of cursing and swearing, but it's not actually polite to actually do any of that. So it's not. And that my word or what I say would have a huge impact on another person's life as well, in the sense that I'm know for sure that I'm not the only one that has to go through the whole thing of having allergies to not actually properly understanding what God actually believes in, really, and if he would accept anyone that's like whatever really. And um and there's also the whole thing that when it comes to a lot of the things that has been happening in the past couple of years, it's because of those is why so many people is why some people would have um been rude, nasty, and um just I'm not gonna um mention it, but I'm definitely going to say would have been so wrapped up in actually saying a lot of things that they probably shouldn't be saying in the first place, really. And that when it actually comes to the whole thing that is to do with actually taking anything in, and how the world is going so quickly, and the fact that life is going so quickly, it's really a individual choice to slow down, to actually take it all in, really. And the right way to actually um go through life nowadays, especially with the way that a lot of things have gone, is to keep a budget for sure. And I know and completely understand that it can be struggling and hard to actually do so. But at the same time, um you actually would feel better about yourself if you actually do it, really, and really take certain things into careful consideration before actually buying or paying for anything, really. If you actually need it, to if you only want, love it, or would want to have it, because those are not actually valuable reasons of actually needing to buy anything, really, in the first place. And there's also the whole thing that is to do with um um with going through life within l- living through life within secret identities as well. That's not good either. So it's not. And I'm not mentioning any names or putting anyone as any examples, except for myself. That is really so I'm not going to really properly explain it now, but really um it would be absolutely be so um a lot better if people actually would see a lot more common sense with a lot of things nowadays, in the sense of how rational to immature that people can be in general. Because anything that's by choice, um, you really should think about those things very wisely. Really, so you should. And actually being wise as well can come off as you being confident as well. Really, so it can be. So really, it is actually better to really um enjoy actually just being yourself, but to also not to feel that you have to do whatever. Really, that everyone has freedom of choice when they're when they are a adult. Really, but on the side of minors, even though they should or shouldn't have a say in what they do or don't do, but at the same time, they shouldn't really be forced or made to do anything either. If they don't have any say in it. But the proper way for me to explain that really is that um sitting anyone down and actually talking to them, of actually explaining, that would make that would make more healthier relationships between people, really. So it would, to be open and honest when it comes to getting to right directly to the point, really. Because it's a bit like saying that if because say if I was to actually talk to, say, to a child, or to a minor, to not do something, I would actually mean it. So I would, but I wouldn't say it in the sense of it hurting their feelings. So I wouldn't, which actually is the right thing, really, to come off more as being well, not so much as a friend, but more so as a person that would be willing and open to saying no, really, and that of what you would actually say if you are their parent, really, because that's kind of how people in their early 20s and onwards should really be thinking, really, of what they would actually be like if they were actually parents, really. Never mind. And as well, there's also the, the whole thing that is to do with the fact that when you're actually talking to a minor, it's actually better to not to be too harsh with what you're saying or explaining, really. It's better to um, properly, fully explain it before actually um, letting them know how you feel about them doing the wrong thing, and just s- explain that doing the right thing, even if it feels wrong, you should still do it regardless of how it feels, because at the end of the day, it's what's best. Really. So it is. And that it is way better to actually have honest, open conversation with children, with minors, really, in general. Because really, why would you think that many or any children becomes famous in the first place? It's because they are either entered in competitions, like myself, and would have had a natural gift. Those are the people that should become famous. But at the same time, you should not become famous just because of what you look like, because that's actually wrong. So it is. because it's better to have personality within of everything else as well. So it is. But when it comes to actually being famous, I can definitely say that it is not all sunshine and roses, because um there actually are bad sides of it as well. So there was, especially with being so wrapped up in it at times as well, and really uh, completely losing it at times as well, which actually is more human, but at the same time, you can't really be like that and while being famous. So you shouldn't, because that would give you a bad reputation. So it would. Oh yeah, and I should probably properly explain why I would have actually became famous in the first place, really, and not just because of having the name Liam, even though that would have made me, even though that would have automatically made me famous anyway. But really, I actually originally gained fame since I started national school, really, which is actually a really good fair point, really, because really, um, as children goes through that period in their life, really, they kind of would reach um the level of starting to become famous, but within their school environment, really, with classmates as well. Which for me, that was when I actually created when I actually decided to actually have this whole or the alter ego version of myself, which was at the time Liam Possible, which I kind of took the name Kim Possible, but took the name Kim out and just put in my name as the first name. Really. So that was my alter ego for throughout that period of my life while I was in national school. But but after that, it was Liam Starr, you know, which the full title of that would have actually been super Liam the Superstar, really. But all of that is actually linked to the whole thing of actually me actually being famous, which originally I would have actually done swimming lessons, which is what I was actually mainly famous for, which was swimming um competitions, and that the lessons were challenging at times because of how the fact that most people wouldn't really get it, wouldn't actually pick it up as quick, really. But as kept improving each stroke, um, it was actually then is when they became more naturally so um so good in the sense of my times, which the coach I had the swimming coach I had at the time was Anya O'Connell, who gave those incredible swimming times to um the Special Olympics. So that's kind of how I kind of really linked up with the Special Olympics back in the day, really. Which at the same time as well, I was also a part of the New Ross Special Olympic Club at the same time as well, which I actually went worldwide, like internationally famous, um since 2015, because that was because the start of that year I actually joined up with the national swim team of Ireland, so I did. So that would have made me internationally famous, really. From then and onwards to 2018, in which in 2014 I actually spoken about the truth of what a much younger me would have actually done, really, and that's spoken the truth of what being a swimmer is actually can actually be like, really, and the level of it, and the level of the pressure that would have built it up along with it as well, in which I would have actually I actually took action on actually giving that part of my life up in 2018, really, which in 2018 in general and up to then as well, I've actually had I've actually given up on myself altogether. So I have, which isn't really ideal or the right thing that anyone should have to go through, really, you know. And as well, when it comes to the whole thing, which is to do with actually being famous, even though I said that it's not always sunshine and roses, but at the same time, it is good to get recognition for your achievements, but to not to let the level of that actually build up to the point where you would actually become um to the point where you would actually become famous for it, really. So that's kind of really how I would have became famous in the first place, which for others it would have been from kind of something like that, but at the same time would have been in different conditions, really. So it would have been. And when it comes to busking, um, even though that would or not be the right thing to do, really, but if you're struggling financially, that's what you might end up doing, really. But at the same time, it's not really the right thing to do. And I would definitely would say that those that more than likely would become famous nowadays would actually be those that would actually become famous from being discovered online, really, in the sense that today's international superstars, such as like myself, um would have became famous as throughout the years, really, through the different platforms or from whatever. But really, since things like Disney and Nickelodeon are no longer bringing out superstars anymore, people in general would actually become famous from appearing in whatever, really. So they would, and as well, I would have also had the whole thing of having hidden fame as well, because there were things that even I've done that would have also had a huge part in me of actually being famous as well in the first place, which would have been more than likely being in school plays to school competitions, like coming third in an art competition that I actually came third in an art competition back in the day, and I even got a musician award when I was in fourth class, which is how it's done here in Ireland. Never mind, in national school, so, here in Ireland as well. Yeah, and there's also the whole thing of going through life in the sense of actually not being the sort of person that anyone wants you to be. Because at the same time, you shouldn't really be what anyone wants you to be or would expect you to be like. Because you should just be yourself, really, and nothing else. Because you shouldn't have to be anyone or anything else, really. Which comes to the whole thing of comparing yourself to others. Because that's not the right thing to do. So it's not. Because even though some people like myself would say that and would now confess in the sense that if a younger person has similar interests that you would have had when you were a lot younger. You might refer to those as mini me's, really. So you might, which is a thing that I actually really do think about so many um young people that are so gifted, really. Well, of anyone that's gifted, really. Yeah. And there's also the whole thing of, like actually feeling anything as well, which nowadays the world is actually so um hidden away from, really, is actually feeling anything, which it is better to actually feel than not feel, really, because of the sense that actually feeling is more human, and not feeling is actually more like you being more as of a robot, really, which is not a good thing. So it's not, because it's not right to be taken advantage of, and or to be exposed to things that you're uncomfortable with, really, because really you're better off only doing things that you actually are comfortable with doing, really. And that's me saying what even what can happen to minors as well. That that really there are certain things that parents really should really notice with like several things when it actually comes to parenting in general. Because really the advice, opinions, or comments or whatever that you would give to children, really um should come they should come off as you actually being completely supportive, for sure, but at the same time to also know the balance between parent and friend, because you can't really be both. So you can't, which isn't really the right thing, really. So it's not. Because if I was a parent myself to a child, I actually wouldn't allow that child to actually go through what I've been through, really. So I wouldn't. So when I'm not encouraging it, but um I would definitely be encouraging the things that actually are right within life, really, when it actually comes to the growth of minors, really. And as well, minors should not become famous in the first place, so they shouldn't, because their brain is still developing, so they are. Which, if you were to become famous at all, you're actually better off waiting until you're in your early 20s. But um, of course, that's if you were to become famous. But at the same time, it's not actually. But actually, being famous is not actually good either. So it's not, when it comes to a lot of the hate that it can bring, really. And as well, when it comes to um, living, well, no, not living, but when it actually comes to living up to anyone else's expectations, that's not actually white either. So it's not, and that you should really um allow yourself to actually feel, because really it's not right to not to feel, really. And that I am definitely sure that even minors would feel anything as well, but that I wouldn't have actually had the privilege of as I grew up, really. But at the same time, you really should ask um well that whichever minor how they feel, and meet them halfway, really, in the sense of what they should do instead of what they have to do, really. Because really, when you actually in force rules or laws in general, that would make people turn into into things that are not actually pleasant and that are not and that are not actually um anyway right for society, really, especially on those around them, really. Because if you actually think about it, even though many people would have a lot of things to say about e-scooters, about um you know, and about motorbikes, quads, and all. Well, the real truth to that really is that it is very unsafe on roads, even pavements, for them to be even allowed in society. Really, when they actually can be we um um in the sense that they can be very dangerous. Really. And that can actually be said for lots of things, not just for those specific things, really. And that when it comes to the whole thing that is to do with being oblivious to anything, that's not right either. So it's not, because it's better to be curious than oblivious, really. And that it is also 10 times better to actually be openly honest as well, which should be taught to children, well, to minors really, to be openly honest in the first place. Because that would, so I'm pretty sure that actually would help in the sense of them actually opening up, in the sense of actually talking about what they are actually feeling, to the whole thing that is to do with them expressing their how they actually feel, really. Because when it comes to emotional expression, minors should be allowed to actually feel instead of being made or forced to be like whatever, really. And that another good fair point as well is that really, when it comes to actually being vulnerable, that's fine at times, but definitely not the whole time, really. So it's not. And giving people what they want is one thing, but actually giving them what they need is actually better. Really, so it is. Because it's a bit like those daily counters. They are not actually needed at all. So they're not. If anything, it's actually causing more harm than good. We find to health, really, in anything being nutritionally healthy, really. You mind? And as well, picking up filthy, dirty, disgraceful habits is not the right thing either. You mind? And that it should not be encouraged. It should be excouraged, really. And when it comes to social media in general, as well, like that can bring online hate, so it can, which wouldn't be good either for anyone. It's because of that to posting a lot of a lot of inappropriate things like videos, images, or whatever. Um, that's really why I actually got off of certain platforms of social media like Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and who now or whatever. I would have gotten off of those a couple of years ago, really, which I would have made the right choice to actually do so, because really being on social media at all can cause hate to it for sure. And I do understand that nowadays that with people with family members living abroad, that you would want to keep in touch with them, really. But at the same time, the right way to actually do that really is through WhatsApp, really. So it is, which is the right way to do it, really. Which on social media platforms in general, that can cause online hate to even bullying and scams. So it can. And that actually is the reality of social media. So it is. And why I just got off of those platforms altogether. Never mind. And as well, there's also the whole thing that is to do with actually being openly honest as well of what I've just mentioned. But with that would also come to the fact that you shouldn't have to feel, that you shouldn't have to actually keep anything to yourself and or keep anything bottled up, really, because that because that's not one bit healthy at all whatsoever, and that is a thing that I would have had gone through myself, and that's really why I would have um pardon me, um that's kind of really why I would have not mentioned a lot of the things that I would have actually been going through at the time with with loved ones, really, at the same time, because of hi- hiding things and or bottling anything up about myself, and or some of the a lot of the life experiences that I've actually been through as well. Really, if you actually logically think about it, really, anyone that grew up along with while watching Disney and Nickelodeon throughout the years, they would have actually learned a lot of moral support, help and supports from those shows and movies, really. So they would, which is kind of really the main source of what I actually had to turn to, of what I was forcing myself to turn to when I felt anyway bad about myself, really. Because really, l- l- logically, I wouldn't have had the best conditions, really, of actually having anyone to actually turn to, really. Because having supportive parents or not is one thing, but them working a lot of the time and can actually cause you to actually keep things to yourself, really. So it can. To also having a brother or a sibling who is either away most of the time or busy a lot of the time. It's because of all of that is why I would have actually kept things to myself that would have built it up throughout the years of me actually bottling them up, really. Never mind. But an awful lot of what I'm actually explaining really is that hiding and bottling anything at all whatsoever up throughout out years, that's not good or healthy at all. So it's not, and that it should not be encouraged or even allowed, really, for anyone to actually do that. That's why mindfulness is so important, especially nowadays, really, and that it is actually better to actually keep your peace rather than And when I say peace, I'm actually referring to um being one with yourself, really, and not being the sort of person that most people or anyone would want or expect you to be like in general. Really. And this is me signing off. See ya.